Can we talk complicated relationships with our mothers? It's a big topic, and it just brings up, all kinds of feelings: obligation, guilt, anger, fear, sadness. My mother passed away 4 years ago today, right about now, around 9:30 in the morning. And November 17th, very impactful day. I had a very complicated relationship with her. And the reason I'd be sharing this with you is for no reason, I don't want to disparage her, but I find it helpful when people talk about their real relationships with their moms. Whoops, don't drop the camera. The truth of the matter is that when she died, sorry, I'm trying to stabilize my camera. There we go. When she died, as much as it was, really painful, I soon discovered that it would be a big relief for me, because I would no longer have to deal with her personality, which was really difficult and was really a lifetime of really tough on me. I still credit her as my greatest teacher in terms of who I kind of don't want to be like, but also who introduced me to all things holistic. She was sort of a paradox in that she was really into yoga and meditation, but on the other hand, she suffered terribly with her mental health, and she took out a lot of her pain and anger on her kids and a lot on me. And she was very rough on me in terms of physical body, and she was very rough on me because she had her own self-loathing. That's the truth. I've done a lot of therapy about this myself. And in fact, here's something I recommend. In the latter aspects of her life, I didn't actually know that she was going to be, dying in her early 80s, but people do die in those, so I was getting ready for it. And I did some very concerted personal therapy with my therapist at the time on the notion or the idea that, hey, help me. I went into the office with, help me over this next time, year, whatever it is, to be okay with the fact that when my mother dies, she will probably be angry at me. Why? Because I will draw more boundaries, because I will say no more, because I will not operate out of guilt or obligation, because I will not say yes when I really want to say no. And that would have brought on huge anger and destabilization in our relationship if I didn't do precisely what she wanted me to do. And so I went about the business of doing deep personal work to draw the boundaries in spite of my fear, in spite of my guilt, in spite of my obligation feeling. Because even though we had a very complicated relationship and there was some very, 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 very difficult scars from that relationship, I still had a lot of guilt, and I still had a lot of obligation, and I still had a lot of the feeling of, there's no one, we don't have a lot of family, and my sister lives in a different city, so I was the main point person in the city, dealing with her day-to-day issues. And as she became older, it became harder and more engulfing and more difficult to say no. I had to weigh, this thing between not abandoning her, that I don't want to abandon this older woman, but at the same time I don't want to completely lose my own life and my own autonomy, etc. I could literally spend 24/7 there and it still wouldn't have been enough. It was like a bottomless pit of need and her needs over everybody else's, and a rather narcissistic person. But I have a lot of compassion for her as 4 years later after her death, and also a lot of therapy that I've done, because I know she was a broken person. She had a lot of trauma as a child herself, and she was abandoned by her mother. And so I can, at the same time, all at once experience relief that she's dead. God bless her. And I have actually a better relationship with her now that she's gone, because I feel like I communicate with her and dream about her periodically. And I feel her energy and I feel her help and all this stuff. But at the same time, that relief also, I feel a tremendous amount of, acknowledging of my own pain that I went through, and growing up with a mother that didn't really see my needs as important. In fact, they were shunned and mocked when they were presented to her. And not a lot of my family members can kind of totally understand that, because, or some of my friends also, because, she presented beautifully to the outside world, which is always a mind fuck when someone presents beautifully. And the other thing is, you have complicated relationships. It's like, on the one hand, she would be extremely loving and extremely generous and extremely nurturing, and then turn around and blindside me with absolute toxic insulting of my being, of my appearance, of my career, of my who do I think I am anyways, and mock me for having any kind of a need. So it was this really complicated relationship, and I feel like I emotionally had to bring myself up from a very early age and realize that, this is not someone I can feel comforted by and relax with. That's just not going to happen. And even if I feel comforted at times and crave that comfort at times, that was not something I could relax and trust entirely. And the only reason I'm sharing this with you is because my TikTok followers, struggle with things like the mother wound and the complicated relationship with the mother. And as we go into the holidays, I just want you to know you're not crazy, and you're not a bad person, a bad daughter, a bad son, if you find yourself extremely mixed emotions about your mother or your father. And if they did pass away and you feel relief, I'm here to tell you, don't feel guilty. You're feeling relieved because probably you did a lot of suffering, and don't let that sort of religiosity thing, honor thy mother and father. No, listen, you can honor them for the learning that they bestowed upon you, which is what I do, and for the lessons that I learned, and for the growth that I had to go through because of that pain and suffering with her. I honor that. I absolutely, as a spiritual person, honor that. At the same time, I honor me for the pain that I went through. And today, on the anniversary of her death, I send her my love, but I also want to send you my insight and my experience, having gone through a very complicated life with a very mentally unstable mother whom I loved dearly and whom I suffered at the hands of also dearly. And in her passing, a lot opened up for me. Emotionally, so much relief happened, so much physical health happened, so many things improved when I didn't have to constantly be preoccupied. What's my mother going to think? Where am I going to go? Can I make a plan without telling her? Feeling guilty about saying no, going into therapy to cope with feeling guilty about saying no, feeling like she's probably going to die angry at me. That was a huge thing that I thought would occur. And in the end, she actually, when she did pass away, just so you know, before this video runs out, she owned the fact. I did get on video a couple of moments upon her in her dying days. She looked me in the eye and says, I thought that you didn't love me. I thought that you were abandoning me, and that's why I treated you that way. But I know now that you love me. And these were like words of like, holy shit, did I get some relief from some of that too. And the last moments with her were very, very important and very nurturing and caring. And I really want to say that may she be well, may her soul continue to fly free, and may you, who may be struggling with a difficult parent, also give yourself compassion and give yourself knowing and loving, and understand that this is fucking hard, and complicated relationships with mothers, the mother wound, the father wound. But I think the mother wound, they're both difficult wounds. So I just want you to know you're not nuts. And if you feel relief upon that, her dying or him dying, be okay with it and love yourself through it, and know that you can have an even better relationship with them upon, if you believe in that, and I do, upon their death, and also make peace with yourself, because you went through a lot, and it isn't easy to have those people that are supposed to be the most important people in your life have a difficult relationship with them. Have a good day, guys.